Oh my goodness, guys, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
We back.
We back though.
And
How
we back. And we back.
is
And we back.
everyone
Nah, 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 nah.
doing? Damn, it's been a minute. Yesterday was my fault. My fault we didn't have one yesterday. Get that out of the way. I let Alex know a little bit too late. I was in New York for the weekend.
That's okay.
And then I was coming back and things got late. But it's whatever. So we're doing it today. And then
So you were in New York?
yeah, I was up in the city. Well, kinda. I was in Queens.
You were out, so you saw Mr. Dark Phoenix, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went and saw him.
That sounds like a good old time.
It was a good weekend. Had loads of fun. My car got impounded though the very first night, which was super cool.
Welcome to New York.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that where I had parked was not a overnight parking spot. And so I walked out that morning and I was like, "Hey, yo, dude, where's my car?" And it turns out that my car had been impounded. So that was an expensive start to the weekend to get that thing out of where they towed it to, but it's okay.
In New York,
Yeah.
concrete jungle where they'll impound you.
And I tell you, yeah, it was bad.
And then they'll fine you.
Yeah, it was.
Now you're carless.
It sucked, but it's okay. We got it, and we got it all figured out. And it is what it is. We ended up going on to have a great, had a great weekend. Had a fun time. It was super good. But anyway, so we are live
Good.
now.
Great, grand, wonderful.
Exactly, and I will tell you what, guys. You know, we took a week off. Well, we taken a couple weeks off, basically here and there. But we took this last week off, and my God, did Pandora's box open up?
Bro, it was exactly what I needed, if I'm just being completely honest with you. I feel like things were getting stagnant there for a bit.
Yeah,
like,
that's just kind of why.
man, we're talking about the same thing every week, and which is great. I still,
not that I don't
people,
enjoy doing that, but I haven't downloaded or I might have downloaded them, but I haven't uploaded the previous two podcasts just because A, they were short, and B, I just didn't feel like they were, like we said, they were a little stagnant. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to upload the same thing again. So
yeah.
Pandora's box opened this week though, and boy howdy, do we have some shit to talk about.
Oh, I got notes this week.
Ooh.
I got notes.
The preparations.
Oh, I'm so prepped.
Well, shit, where do you want to start?
I don't know. I'm also on my work computer, so I'm trying to get into Twitch so I can see comments, which I'm here now.
Don't worry, his work is just going to ask really pointed questions when he gets back tomorrow and be like, why are you on Twitch on the work computer?
No, they don't care. I did add a couple of my sales reps on Facebook, though.
Nice.
And as you all know, I post on Facebook to let everybody know I'm here. So if they listen, hey, I don't say anything on here that you wouldn't catch me saying at work. So
there you go. We keep it 100.
Maybe I should take a page out of Ben's book and say that these opinions are my own and they do not reflect anybody that I work with or any companies that I work with. I'm just a dumbass out here trying to figure it all out. But brother, I got some comments to make this week.
Bro, I think, you know what I want to start with, which is just super intriguing to me when I first heard it, is let's start with friggin' John McAfee.
Oh, you want to start with McAfee?
Yeah, let's start with McAfee. I don't know. I've heard McAfee. I've heard McAfee. I don't know. I always called him McAfee. But anyways.
Well, it's McAfee, antivirus.
Yeah, it's the guy who made the antivirus.
He's
for
the
your
antivirus.
Computer. Yeah. So.
And I'm pretty sure I would have to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure that dude owned a private island off the coast of South Padre Island. Because I remember one time. We were out on a fishing boat with one of my friends, and he was like, yeah, you see that island over there, you know, McAfee antivirus. And I was like, well, yeah. And he goes, that's John McAfee's island. I'm like, I didn't even know that was like a guy. Like, I didn't know where McAfee antivirus came from. And yes, Combo, he is suspected of killing his neighbor because his neighbor poisoned his dogs, and I believe this was in Bolivia. Discount Jamie, you can correct me if I'm wrong,
I don't know
but
if
I know it
Discount
was
Jamie's in here.
overseas, and they didn't have. I know it wasn't in the United States. I was literally just listening to a bunch of different podcasts today because this is, you guys know, I'm like all about this uh, conspiracy shit, very a la Jeffrey Epstein, but with a lot of
Yeah.
different caveats.
Yeah,
But he
so
did. So his neighbor poisoned his dog, and then the next day, his neighbor was found dead inside of his neighbor's house. So
very suspect.
the dude was a narcissist. Like, do a very simple Google search on, it's John McAfee, right?
Yeah, John
Yeah.
McAfee. Yeah.
Uh, you can find out that this dude was a little. You're not supposed to say off the reservation anymore. I don't say this racially, but like, the dude was a little Looney Tunes. He
Yeah.
was the lights were on, and he was an incredibly smart dude from what I understand, but kind of one of those
He
like
was
use your powers for evil type
yeah,
dude.
kind of. He was also very paranoid of the United States coming after him. He had tweeted multiple times out on his Twitter that if I ever kill myself, it wasn't me. And he got on his right arm tattooed whacked, like dollar sign whacked, to let people know that
I
he
didn't.
didn't suicide himself. He said something to the effect that he'd had correspondence with the United States government that said we're coming for you, basically we're going to kill you type shit. Um, and then my man's gets arrested in Spain. They put him in a prison cell because Madrid and Spain go, yeah, we'll extradite you to the U.S. And then within hours, he is, found dead by apparent suicide. And as of 7 hours ago, Reuters, the autopsy has reported that the autopsy shows that he did commit suicide. That they've said that it wasn't a homicide. But his
Well,
wife has wow, that's it on the article. Damn. Um, his wife was like, "There's no shot that he committed suicide. He was not suicidal. He would never, commit suicide. She wants answers."
well, so I understand that his wife is blaming the United States justice system, and I understand that he made a lot of comments. He even said, if I would commit suicide a la Jeffrey Epstein, just know that I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy was also obsessed with the idea that if I ever commit suicide, it wasn't me. And do I think he's just enough of a narcissist to commit suicide just to stir the pot and just to kind of be an asshole and be like, oh, now the whole nation or the world, country, whatever you want to say, is gonna come out and be like, oh, we got another Jeffrey Epstein on our hands? Yes. Also, he claimed to have a dead man switch, which, if you guys know what a dead man switch is, in terms that we're speaking of now, there's been a couple people who have said, hey, if I ever commit suicide, there's a dead man switch out there that basically somebody has information, someone has incriminating information against different people that are seeking to kill me, that if I ever die, quote unquote, commit suicide, this information will be released. And we haven't seen any sort of quote unquote dead man switches, like any sort of like super crazy information being released yet. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another kind of caveat to this story where I'm like, I don't know. Like, the dude was just narcissistic enough and was just obsessed enough with the idea that people were trying to kill him that I could kind of. It's not Jeffrey Epstein. Let's just put it
No,
that way.
I don't think it was a Jeffrey Epstein situation where, like, with him, but everybody, unless you're just brain dead, he didn't commit suicide. That dude was off because he was about to out some very high profile people.
The security guards didn't nod off, and the surveillance system didn't just suddenly stop working, and they didn't call an unnamed associate in to identify his body and collect the corpse. All things that happened with Jeffrey Epstein. You can look him up. Very simple DuckDuckGo search. This again, am I like ready to say like, oh, McAfee was just like a narcissist. He killed himself to get, you know, public attention. I don't want to rule it out, but
Yeah.
I also like with Epstein, it was pretty clear that like there's more to this story. It doesn't take a whole lot of brains to realize, okay, I don't know if this
Yeah.
is exactly accurate.
This one, like the unless something crazy comes out, my dude was on the run from the U.S. government on charges of tax evasion in Tennessee and cryptocurrency fraud in New York. That's
Yeah,
what he was running from the United States government for. I don't think, unless he had some other skeletons in the closet with the United States government. If that's the only two reasons that he's on the run from the United States, that's not enough of a reason for the United States to send a hitman or whatever and whack this dude. I think I don't know. Alex might be right in this and saying that this dude is narcissistic enough to stir the pot with his death.
again, would I love it if all of what he said was true, and like if I ever quote unquote commit suicide, like this was an inside job, and this just further speaks to the fact that like there are powers that be that put out hits on people, like the Clinton lists are real and all that shit. I would love it if that was true.
Yeah.
But I also have to temper reality with fantasy and say, okay, there's a lot of narcissistic tendencies and crazy tendencies that this guy had, to where I just can't take all of this at face value, because he might have wanted to create a martyr in himself and be a Jeffrey Epstein type person, or type figure, I should say, with his legacy, blah, 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 whatever. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
It is a little
I don't know.
suspect that, the only thing that's fishy for me is that, it's within hours of him being detained in that Madrid prison, he wound up dead. That's a little bit that's a little bit fishy, but
and
again,
to his wife's point, so this was his wife's main point, was that she had just spoken with him about his extradition back to the United States. And she said that this didn't come as shocking news. Like they pretty much expected this to happen.
Yeah,
and they already
for how
they
long?
already had a long time. I don't know.
And so at some point somewhere you're gonna get caught. And
well, they already had a plan in place before the final charges of extradition were ever released. And she talked to him on the phone hours before he committed suicide. And he did say, there are specific people that I will notify. There are specific people that will know if I'm ever going to make that decision. And one of which was his wife. Now, did the guy not necessarily see all of this playing out the way he thought it would, and just saw an opportunity like, hey, now's the time, I can just cut all this short and be done with it, and I don't have to go through all this bullshit? Very possibly. Or did they have, what was it, Brazilian guards? Where was he? Brazil?
He was in Spain.
Spain. Did they have Spain guards look the other way while, somebody came in and said, hey, bitch, we're not extraditing you. This ends here. And you're quote unquote committing suicide? Very possibly. I don't know. I don't know. It's fun to think about. But again,
we can,
last time I'll say it, it's not an Epstein type situation. No. It's not that blatant.
And honestly, we could just log that under conspiracy theories. And when we have an episode where we just sit here and talk about conspiracy theories and just go down the rabbit hole, so to speak. Something I did see though, and this has ties to something else I kind of want to talk about a little bit. There's an article here that said, the title was that the apartment building collapse that happened in Miami, over the
Oh,
weekend.
dude.
They were like, no, John McAfee did not have ties to that building. That's not why it collapsed. So you can check that box off as to why it collapsed. Something else I
Yeah,
heard,
no.
and no,
What?
don't get me wrong. This is an unproven source, and I just thought it was super interesting that the person I was talking to at work said this, but and honest to God, it's not very far out of the scope of possibility when you guys hear what I'm gonna say. But he was like the person at work goes that apartment building collapse in Miami. It's rumored, and this is just rumor and speculation, that there was one person in that building that had like ties to the Clintons and was maybe about to start spilling the beans, and they just like leveled an entire apartment complex. And I was like, all right, look,
No.
I don't,
That
that's not the reason that happened. Like 0%,
no.
that's like not why that building fell down. It's in that realm of like, kind of fun to like, okay, not fun, but like,
I was gonna say careful.
it's not fun, but it's kind of like,
Okay, no, I'm
you
not
kind of
laughing
like,
about this because this is really terrible.
you kind
Like,
of log it in that conspiracy theory thing.
no,
But how, I
I
don't
can
know.
pretty much dispel that one right off the bat
Well, just based on MO of how
because
other people the Clintons have whacked, and I'm 100% convinced the Clintons have murdered people or had people
okay,
murdered.
let me put it this way. Maybe there is a 0.0000001% chance that that's the reason because inspectors flagged this building in 2018. First of all, let me because this is fucking sad.
Yeah, it's very
It's
sad.
it's
It's a
horrible.
horrible tragedy.
And it's probably the biggest accident just based on architecture failure in American history. Like the videos of people fucking standing on their balconies screaming and shit, like it is very like it gives you 9/11 vibes of people jumping out.
Yeah.
Like it's I don't even want to. It's really fucking bad. And they knew that there was infrastructure issues with this building, and inspectors had said that something needs to be done on this building because of the issues that it had. And they were slated to start construction and repairs on said building like I think it was like within the next couple weeks, like, or maybe even next week. I don't know. It was soon. Like, they knew that this building was compromised and they thought that they had more time than they did. And then fucking
Disaster strikes.
walls come crumbling down very literally. And again, it's the biggest like infrastructure failure in American history with there's still 150 people missing.
Yeah, this is, and I've got something pulled up right now. This is as of 38 minutes ago. 11 people are dead and 150 others remain unaccounted for. And that was,
Yeah.
that's this evening, just like 40 minutes ago. So,
Well, and
we're entering the fifth
unfortunately,
day of this.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, on the fifth day of this unaccounted for, we kind of know what that means. Like,
Yeah,
I
for
hope
the
to
majority.
God, there's a little pocket underneath all the rubble with enough oxygen to house 150 people for 5 days. I would love
pray.
that to happen, but realistically, that's not
Realistically, it's
feasible.
yeah, there. If
And
you
it's
happen to get into a pocket with enough oxygen, you've got. Unfortunately, in cases like this, you've got hours.
no, dude. It's just
At
not.
most, maybe a day if you're lucky enough to get like a pinhole worth of air. But
Well, and another worst part about this is I don't know if it was a tenant or a manager or whoever it was called in to the owners. Somebody will have to fact check me on this because I've been listening to podcasts literally all day. That's one of the joys of my new job is I sit at a desk most of the day and I have my wireless earbuds in and I just listen to podcasts pretty much all day. So like I feel like I've never been more informed than I am now, which in this case is kind of sad. But it was either a tenant or someone contacted management because there was construction in the area. And they said the construction is like we can feel the walls like shaking with the construction so near
Close.
us.
Oh man.
And they said we have repairs scheduled to start on this building. Like, I think it's next week, dude. I think that's what it was. Um, but like all the fucking red flags were there,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off. I mean, they've known about it for 2 years, and they
Jesus.
never really did anything about it. And when they finally scheduled something to be done, like it was literally like 7 days too late. And now a fucking 150 lives or 157. I don't mean to discount that number because one life is too many. But it's just it's a fucking tragic situation, dude.
That sucks.
Like there were so many, yeah, kids, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
So
just it
right,
sucks.
yeah, it does suck, and it sucks that they knew about it for 2 years and didn't do anything about it because the root of all that is going to be it's going to cost too much to do it, and if it's good for now, we'll wait, and now
Yeah,
you're playing with people's lives at that point. Like you
Metters
just shows.
Metters
Yeah, go
said it
ahead.
was an inspection consultant
Mm,
that's who called and said like, hey,
this isn't good.
there's a lot of construction going on around us, and like shit's kind of shaking up here. Like we can feel the wall. I mean, I'm in a condo right now on the 11th floor. Like it could happen to me just as easily as it could happen to the other fucking condo sitting right across, like imagine just sitting in a place you think is safe and home
Well,
because you
it
lock the
happened at
front
like
door.
almost 2 o'clock in the morning, so some people are just dead ass asleep. And then
God,
at this article that I have pulled up right now, though, it does say that as of Monday afternoon, they hadn't reached the bottom of the pile, but they had gotten cameras down there, and it showed some voids and air pockets where people could be trapped. So fingers crossed that there's
fingers crossed,
enough,
dude.
enough oxygen kind of getting its way down in there, into those air pockets and stuff, and the people, are just holding on right now and surviving, because they've said that they're not ready to transition their efforts from rescue to recovery yet. So fingers crossed as these efforts continue that they pull out more breathing people than not breathing people.
Fingers crossed, dude. I hope
It's
I
just
hope
such
like
a it's
hell.
just such a shitty. It's so shitty. And going back to the little bit of what I said, at the beginning, I don't think it was the fact that some one person lived there that had dirt on the Clintons.
No,
If you do any
again, like
research into it, like at all, the Clintons' MO is to not have entire buildings of innocent people get fucking destroyed. The people that have dirt on the Clintons or anything like that, they go on a vacation or something or whatever, and they just kind of disappear and don't come back.
no, they jump off of a bridge
Or they
onto oncoming traffic days after they said they're not suicidal.
or they go up to their vacation home in the Poconos and get shot in the back of the skull. But it's an
Twice.
apparent suicide. You shoot
Yeah.
yourself twice in the head.
No, I think yeah, and I don't want to end up on the Clintons hit list.
I don't
So
either.
Hillary,
So
I think you're great. Bill, you're awesome.
Hillary,
Chelsea,
I don't think you're great.
keep
You're a
doing your thing.
fucking traitorous bitch, and I hate you. But it's neither here nor there. Bill, you're kind of
Uh,
just an adulterer, and you can play the saxophone pretty good. You're just kind of a creepy old man. Anyway,
I just want to live.
don't kill me, please.
I just want to live. I don't want to die. I
Ah.
didn't expect to talk about the Miami building tonight, but that is
Well, the only reason I brought it up is because I saw that one little like kind of tie-in
it
with
is.
McAfee, and I was like, "There's no shot that that's the reason."
No, it is news though.
But
I mean
yeah,
it
I mean,
it is news.
it's unfortunate news, and I am hoping and sending out all the positive and good vibes that the people that are trapped make it out okay.
Yeah. If they're trapped, I hope they are trapped. I mean, I don't wish that they would have ended up there in the first place, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
trapped and not dead, and just awaiting rescue.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, what else is on the docket?
Fingers crossed.
We might have to start wearing masks again.
Oh God.
Because apparently we are super worried about the Delta and Gamma variants of COVID 19. And here we go, talking about COVID again, baby. Week after week. It doesn't get any better. We've been, like, I was thinking about it today. We've been doing this podcast a little bit over a year.
Has it really been over a
It's
year?
really been over a year because I remember we had last year a 4th of July podcast.
Oh, we did. That's
And
right. Yeah.
we're about there again this coming weekend. So we've been doing this a year.
Well, and
Just a smooch over.
it was when the COVID really first started taking control that I was playing video games more than I had probably ever had in my life. I was going through a breakup, and it was right in the middle of COVID, and it was bad times in my life. But then
we
I
were
started
there for
playing
you.
with. You were there. Hey, I'm not even. I don't even undertone this for a second. You, Brandon, Ruben, Hugo, a lot of my other friends, like not on the gaming platforms, not discounting you guys at all. But you guys were there for me for a fucking lot. And it was one night where it was just you and I remember being
It
pretty
was
drunk,
you,
and
me,
we
and
were
Abby
just.
were playing,
You're right.
and we
And
came
I
up with the
remember being
whole deal.
pretty drunk, and we were talking about politics and whatever was going on. And I think it was Combo. Wasn't it Combo that was like, I would definitely watch a
I'm
podcast to you
pretty
guys?
sure I was
Because you were
streaming that
streaming.
night, and Combo
You
was
were
there. Was
streaming.
like, I'd fucking watch that.
Yeah. And we were
So,
like, oh, maybe that could be something.
yeah.
And dude, that was a fucking year. What episode is this? Is this
This
like,
is episode technically 43. So we've had some breaks here and there. We've had about 10, I guess, close to 9 to 10 weeks of breaks here and there. Some
yeah,
of it was like when I was going through my shit, and just other
yeah.
little breaks here and there.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
we don't get paid to do this. So, here we are.
True.
Combo said, what would I watch?
This, right, you're watching
You're
right
here
now.
now, bitch. Welcome. Thanks, Combo. We
Oh
love
my
you.
god, I don't know why that tickled me so much. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, shout out.
But
Anyway,
anyway, yeah. So
but
now,
yeah, so now we might have to start wearing masks again because the Delta variant,
which
right?
is
Or
with the
whatever
Delta
they're
variant, which
fucking
is
talking
stupid
about now.
because I don't know if I told you this or not, but I get my second Fauci ouchie next week.
Fauci ouchie.
Yeah.
You gonna hold a magnet up to your arm?
No. Because I know that's not how it works. Yeah, so I get my second Fauci ouchie next week just because I decided to finally bite the bullet, and I you know what, eventually the entirety of the DoD is gonna get fucking smacked with the vaccine anyway, so I'll just get ahead of the curve and now I won't have to wear a mask anymore. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
That is literally the only reason. Basically, my only motivating factor was like, I'm so tired of wearing a mask. But anyway, yeah, but now they're saying that was it? I don't even think it was. It might have been the CDC. I know for sure. Like the WHO is the WHO, not the band, the World Health Organization.
WHO.
They're really concerned. They're really concerned about it. They're saying that people that are fully vaccinated now might have to even go back to wearing masks because of these variants. And I'm just like, bro.
Okay. I'm not gonna start in on it yet. I'll let you finish up whatever we want to say. But I listened to the Brett Weinstein podcast with Joe Rogan, and I've got a lot to say. I've got notes on notes.
All I'm saying is, like, I'm not trying to downplay the yeah, if that's the point, it's here to stay for. That's what I'm like. I'm with Meadows on that. Like, look, if we're just gonna keep running back to slapping a mask on our face every time some new variant or whatever comes out, nobody's gonna build up the immunity that they need to this thing, and we're just gonna be stuck in a vicious cycle of fucking mask to no mask to shutdowns to no shutdowns, and life is never gonna go back to normal, which. We
Well, Here's the
I don't know.
thing.
Just go ahead.
Here's the thing. You could make a case for people wearing masks for anything,
Right.
right? Like Metters just said,
The
the
flu,
flu has how many variants every year?
and I've said
I
this before.
I texted Stephen Luther to be on this podcast tonight, by the way, and he didn't fucking text me back because he's a doctor. And I said I'd love a doctor's perspective. And so Luther, thanks for being here, but fuck you for not texting me back. Anyway, we could make the case. So I taught preschool for a long time, right? And every year we'd encourage kids to, well, we wouldn't encourage them to eat dirt or, whatever, but we would tell parents who brought their kids to us in preschool that it's good for them to come to our school before they get to kindergarten, because the earlier they introduce their young immune systems to different germs, then the easier it will be when they get to kindergarten.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
So now I still understand the fact that the flu kills a lot of people every year. I understand that. But can you put a restraint on an entire society or control the way they act when we've been acting the same way for dozens of years, and now all of a sudden decide that we have to put these social constraints in place in the sake of the betterment of the entire community? I don't see how we can step in as a government entity and say that this is how people have to act, or else you get your religious freedoms taken, or not your religious freedoms, your social freedoms taken away.
Yeah,
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like at the beginning, I understood it, right, because this was a new thing, and there was a large influx of
Same.
people getting sick. And I'm not going to sit here and downplay, COVID to like it's not that bad. There are
No.
plenty of people out there that have like long lasting damaging effects to their respiratory system because of COVID. Like they have scar tissue and breathing problems and stuff now because of it, right? It's a devastating disease. But in like the kind of like same breath, I feel that we like after the initial wave of it, we still overreacted on it. And this is just my opinion from a non like I guess medically educated viewpoint. And I understand, Luther, what you're saying, that you started the social distancing and masks not to overwhelm the healthcare system. I get that. And I was fully behind it at that point, because the healthcare system got overwhelmed. There was like thousands of people, millions of people like flooding hospitals, and it was hectic for y'all to try and get a handle on it. And I'm not downplaying anything that you guys did or any steps that you recommended we take so that you guys didn't just get overwhelmed and couldn't provide the care that you needed to. And honest to God, I appreciate everything our healthcare workers did throughout the entirety of this pandemic.
So I was also a fucking liar, because Luther did text me back and said, "What time does it start?" And I'm sending him, I said, "Do you want to join?" And he's joining our meeting now. Because I have a lot of questions over remdesivir and ivermectin. Ivermectin.
Yeah. I did a little bit of looking on ivermectin right before, after you said it before we started. So
yeah, I'm so sorry. I was traveling this morning from Omaha to Des Moines, and I screwed that up because I texted Luther, because I was texting you about like what we wanted to talk about tonight, and like 5 reps texted me, and it just got lost in the shuffle. I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah. Hey, Luther. What's
Luther?
up, boy?
What's up?
What up, dog? I'm so sorry for calling you out when I was the bitch.
Yeah,
I was the bitch. I was the bitch. I was the bitch. I'm the bitch.
Jesus.
It's my fault. I'm
yes,
the bitch.
it is Steven. Steven has
that's
joined us.
Stephen Luther, Jesus. Dr. Stephen Luther to you.
I'm not a doctor. Now,
Oh,
let
well,
everybody
never
know
mind.
that.
Not Dr. Stephen Luther.
Extremely
Nope.
smart individual, Steven Luther.
I run hospitals. I run the doctor. So
He's the bosses of the doctors. All right. So fuck all you guys. Luther, welcome, bro. Thank you
you.
for joining us. All right. So should we start wearing masks again or not, even if we're vaccinated? I mean, what the fuck's the deal here?
No, hospitals. I will tell you, my hospital has no more than 5 people in with COVID in the hospital. The whole point of wearing masks and social distancing in the beginning was to not overwhelm the healthcare system, not to not get the virus. Our bodies are used to getting sick and creating immunity. So if we're not doing that, guess what's happening? This is never going to go away. We're going to keep getting sick. Even the common flu, we haven't seen the flu in probably now over a year. If you get contacted with the flu, you're probably going to get sick, real sick. It's going to keep getting worse and worse because you haven't been around it.
So are you telling me when Fauci told his friend to not wear a mask to the airport because if you mask wearers are really more so if you have the virus to not give the virus to someone else, and his direct friend emailed him and said, should I wear a mask to the airport? And he said, no, not really. The mask is really if you're sick to not give it to other people. That was true.
Right. I mean, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Masks only work if I was sick, and I should probably wear a mask to keep everybody else getting sick. If you wear a mask just to wear a mask, guess what? Anybody around you can still get you sick. So nowadays, with masks and everything, people who have flu and COVID, it's okay to wear a mask to keep other people from getting sick. But guess what? You still need to be around common germs and any kind of problems around. I mean,
this is what I've been saying from the start.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I was... Okay, I don't want to come across like I was not gung-ho on the masks to begin with. I was like, if I'm not sick, why the hell do I need to wear a mask? Like, and then people were like, oh, because you need to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, shut up. I'm not, like, being around the germs and stuff that I normally am that my body typically fights off. And so now when I stop wearing a mask, here I go, a person that normally doesn't get very sick during flu season, cold season, all that stuff. Now I'm more susceptible to like getting schwacked with something.
So typically I don't get sick. I'm always in the hospital. So therefore I'm used to getting common colds and all that stuff. And since wearing a mask, I wear a mask at hospitals and everything because we're still mandated. Even though I don't wear a mask outside, I have to wear a mask in the hospital, and that's appropriate. I mean, we have some really sick patients. However, anything's getting me sick easily. I mean, I've been more sick this year than I've been sick ever. It's because of wearing masks. And I'm not saying masks aren't good. Masks are good in some cases. Really, they are.
Correct.
Especially for our healthcare. Especially in the beginning of all of this, we were afraid that we were going to overrun our healthcare system. And in some places we did. In New York, you can see the articles. They were begging providers, begging for doctors and staff and everybody having problems. At that time, it was right to wear a mask. Now that we have ample ICU beds, ample ventilators, it doesn't make sense to continue wearing masks.
Well, and ventilators are another thing I want to ask you about, but I do want to interject here because I remember a very specific sales meeting when I was still working in Omaha where we showed up and my dad is in the 60 to 65 range, overweight. I love him to death, but he's overweight. He knows that. He's pre-diabetic. There was like a handful of people in the room not wearing masks. And I'm like, y'all, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, it's smart for all of us to be wearing a mask right now because we don't know how this is affecting everyone. You know, we were new into it. we still kind of thought like the world might burn to the ground because everyone's going to get sick. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the Maze Runner movies, but like I had, in a very unfortunate time, watched all the Maze Runner movies leading up to the pandemic. And I'm like, fuck y'all, this is it. Like, hey, we're in a
We're
really
done.
bad
We're going to the maze.
spot. Like, people are going to fucking die if we don't wear masks. And at that point in time, it was neighborly. It made other people feel comfortable, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't have the information and the knowledge that we have now, which we'll get into ivermectin and remdesivir and all that shit in a second, which I want to pick Luther's brain about. But we're in a much different situation now. It's not the killer that and again, if you've lost a loved one to COVID, I'm very sorry. And I know that this is a serious disease that does and has killed people. But we know a lot more now than what we did when all this shit started popping off. So to suggest that we have to treat a new Delta variant like we did when all of this shit started popping off is a little bit insane to me. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. And especially now, I mean, if you have a comorbidity, I think you need to get a vaccine. I'm a big person on vaccines for the people that need them. I mean, I've gotten vaccinated. And especially if you have some kind of issue or you haven't seen the doctor in a long time, I think you should get the vaccine. I will tell you, a lot of studies come out and are saying, even with the Delta variants, yes, you won't be protected completely, but you have a very high success rate of pulling through compared to being go into the hospital for it. So our bodies need to have some kind of exposure to this COVID if we ever want to get through this. And we really need to start as a society getting sick. I mean, that's just part of it.
And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of conspiracy like things right now where they're like again using a variant to manipulate people and manipulate the government in any or not the government but manipulate our lives in any such way or anything like that. But like we don't need to freak out as much as we did the first go around. Like, we're gonna be fine.
I agree. I mean, now we know what we're dealing with, and we have different tools that we could utilize. And if you're a healthy 20, 30-year-old, go out and be fine. You'll be fine.
Well, and especially if you're supplementing with zinc and vitamin D, and like, I know fish oil isn't one thing that's necessarily like proven to, fight the virus, but like all of these supplements that you can take. And again, like, I don't want to be like a Joe Rogan, like, you listen to Joe Rogan, you're listening to us.
That man talks about supplements like every
well,
podcast.
I know, but it does make sense though, the fact that there has been so little information spread about what you can do to prevent getting very seriously sick from this virus versus what you can do to just avoid it at all costs.
Yeah.
And it does present, and again, I have some shit in front of me that I really want to ask Luther about that would suggest that this is a model in which people have found a way to profit off of. And it's like we've said it's like I said about the mask from the very beginning. I want to wear a mask and this is going over a year ago, to be neighborly, to help my older person standing next to me in a grocery store who may have pre-existing conditions feel better about the fact that they're standing next to me. I don't want a government telling me that I have to do it, but very little in the history of any sort of government institution have they gotten a power and then relinquished that power. That doesn't happen very often.
No.
Typically, once that power is in place, that entity will manipulate that power and do what they need to do to continue to profit off of it or whatever is beneficial to them. And it seems as if we're living in that same situation
and
where it's the Delta variant and it's time to start wearing masks again.
Yeah, well, we set a dangerous precedent by allowing the government to get as far with it as they did throughout the beginning of it. We kind of just
Yeah.
were like, "Oh my God, this is something new and it's crazy, and we don't know what to do here, government. Apparently, you're smarter than us. Do whatever needs to be done. We don't care." And we just let them run with it.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of coming up on a point where it's like, okay, government, like, you know, like Alex said, like, all right, like we're cool now, like everything's starting to like wind down. Can we just go back to how things were? And then the government's like, the Delta variant. No, fuck you. We're gonna do this all over again. And we're like, you know, those of us that have a brain are kind of like, fuck, here we go. And everybody else is like, oh shit, the government knows more than me. I better listen to him. And it's like, no, sheeple, you don't.
Yeah, like Metter says, Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and hospitals do not like COVID at all. I will tell you, we're mandated by the states. I mean, we have to have X amount of beds ready and available. So therefore, in a hospital, from a financial perspective, if we've got to sit half of these beds just in case of a COVID outbreak, then guess what? We're not making money off of things. So COVID, for a hospital perspective, you don't make any money off for COVID. I know that everybody says that hospitals are benefiting from COVID. They're not. You know what they're benefiting from? The Cures Act. Government regulation that gave the money back to the hospitals. That's where they're making their money.
Well, and for a while they were getting monetized on COVID deaths, but I think that's pretty much gone by the wayside, right?
That is a myth. We never got.
Oh, really?
That is a total myth. We never got subsidized for COVID deaths. I know that I kept hearing about that. I'm like, making sure. Nope, we never got subsidized for COVID deaths.
Really?
So you would hear those people say, well, hospitals are putting COVID-19 on everybody's body. No, that we do not get paid by that way.
Yeah, see,
Well,
I heard that a bunch, like that, you know, it was like somebody came in with pre-existing conditions or whatever, and then, you know, happened to die in the hospital. They were like, bam, COVID, because, you know, the myth was now, you know, that they got, you know, the hospitals got money.
No,
for COVID deaths.
we got no money, no more money if they were COVID positive or not. What was happening is that the state wanted a number, even a number of COVID positive. Now, let's say they died from heart failure and they had COVID, then they were counted as a COVID patient. COVID didn't kill them. Their heart killed them.
Correct. Were you guys subsidized on that though? Did you get money on number of COVID patients?
Nothing to do with COVID.
Really?
Nothing.
See, because that was the big you know, theme was that you could get bit by a shark and come into the hospital and die from shark bite. But if you had COVID when you got bit by the shark, you were a COVID death patient. Therefore, the hospital would get monetized. But that's
$0
accurate.
Not at all.
Well, I was wrong, and I'm sorry to all my listeners.
Yeah, they had nothing to do with that piece. Now, statistically, the statistics are incorrect as well. But like I said, if they had some kind of injury, but they had COVID, they would be listed as COVID. And that's how the states wanted it. Now, they may be getting some kind of money off of that piece that I don't know about. But the hospitals per se, they don't get $1 for having a COVID positive patient in their hospital.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. What do you know about remdesivir?
Nothing. What is it?
This is a big rabbit hole that Ben, do you know anything about this or?
Okay, so I don't know much about the remdesivir thing. When you mentioned to me earlier about the ivermectin, I was like, I have no idea what this is. Let me look up what it is, right? So ivermectin is a anti-parasitic medication that's used to treat infections in the body caused by certain parasites. And then they, you know, what I looked up, there was like a whole bunch of things that were like, this is how you're supposed to take it, blah, 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 blah. what we're talking about with this is that it is being investigated as a treatment for COVID-19. The FDA has not yet approved ivermectin for use in treating or preventing COVID-19. The World Health Organization has recommended that we not use ivermectin in patients with COVID-19 except in clinical trials until they figure out if it's good treatment or not. And that is about as far as I got into that rabbit hole.
So here, here's the backstory on why I got so passionate about this. So Brett Weinstein, biologist, and there's another cardiovascular respiratory scientist, that they basically have worked together. And Brett Weinstein on his podcast has talked about the whole fact that ivermectin has been proven in many cases to be a positive treatment to COVID-19. So let me give you the backstory. Let me kind of piece this all together as I think it makes most sense. So they did a study in Argentina, right? So there were 788 people that voluntarily administered ivermectin to themselves. Not one person of that 788 fell ill, and these were all hospital workers, doctors, nurses, that sort of thing. So the 407 people that they used as the control group, who did not administer ivermectin to themselves, 58 of those, or 58% of those people fell ill with COVID without the ivermectin, right? So just on its face, you would look at those numbers and say, okay, 788 people, all in the same working environment, right? So all under the same roof, treating the same patients. 788 of those people took this drug, and not a single one of them tested positive or fell ill with COVID-19 treatments. 407 of those people that did not treat themselves, 58% of those people did fall ill. Here's the big problem with ivermectin as to why Brett Weinstein is talking about this drug on his podcast, and is getting taken down by YouTube for spam or misinformation, is because ivermectin's been around for a long time and the patent on that drug has expired. So it's very cheap. It's very easy to get a generic drug to market that will treat COVID. And I guess I should temper this statement in the same way that remdesivir would, which has very similar acting substances.
But remdesivir's patent hasn't expired and it's more expensive.
Remdesivir was created by Gilead Sciences, who has been under attack and has been under fire for hiking up prices of, say, HIV medication. I believe no, it wasn't hepatitis. Google search GILEAD Sciences. Go to their Wikipedia page.
Gilead?
Yeah, Gilead. I don't fucking know. I'm not smart. But that's who owns this specific medication to treat COVID. And it has been approved by the FDA, by the WHO, by a lot of institutions. It literally takes a very simple, because I did it earlier today, search on ivermectin, which is ivermectin. And one of the first articles you'll see that will pop up is, no, ivermectin is not a cure or a treatment in COVID-19 situations. And then Google search remdesivir, REMDESIVIR, and you will see one of the very first articles pop up saying, yes, remdesivir is a good treatment when it comes to COVID-19. Here's the thing about ivermectin that's being said that is not a proven treatment for COVID-19. They have used this drug to create or to cure river blindness. So some cultures that are bathing or washing or getting their water from a specific river that has a specific bacteria in it, where all of the elder people, particularly males, I believe, are going blind due to this parasite, they've used it. And the thing about it is not only does it cure and kill the parasites, but there is very little negative side effect to the drug. So it's like I liken it to like an antibiotic. And Luther, you can correct me if I'm wrong about what an antibiotic is.
Well, it's an
what
anti.
this is.
This is like an anti. Something like
Anti-parasitic.
Yeah, so it's not really. Well, I guess it is kind of like an antibiotic because it said bacterial infection. So
yeah, but so Brett Weinstein's podcast has literally been taken off of YouTube for mentioning the positive side effects of ivermectin versus remdesivir when the price is 3 times more for remdesivir versus what ivermectin is. And we've legitimately used it to cure river blindness, to cure scabies, to clear all kinds of different parasites. But just the fact that you're mentioning it on a podcast, that it could have some positive effects on COVID-19, gets you removed from these platforms.
hope you guys enjoyed listening to this live because when this goes on YouTube, we might not be up for very long.
Well, it very well could get taken down. I don't know.
So this is I looked up Gilead Sciences on Wikipedia real fast and just scrolled right down to their criticisms tab.
Yes, good move.
They've come under several class action lawsuits over allegations the company deliberately delayed development of an antiretroviral drug based on tenofovir alafenamide fumarate. I probably butchered all 3 of those words, but it's got shortened down to TAF, which after a bunch of looking around, TAF medications were perfectly safe, and Gilead was intentionally withholding results of clinical trials demonstrating that those TAFs were safe, yada, yada, yada. So they've been under scrutiny for a long time. They also had come under intense criticism for its high pricing of a patented drug, sofosbuvir. Shit, it's used to treat hepatitis C. They launched that drug at $1,000 per pill, or it worked out to $84,000 for an 84-day course of that drug to clear yourself of hepatitis C. So they've come under scrutiny for like basically gouging the public on the prices of their drugs.
Well, and the thing that interested me most was their tie to the HIV virus,
which
you want to talk about some other conspiracy theories that we can go down a major rabbit hole one of these days tied to the HIV virus. That was one of the first thing that perked my little conspiracy dog ears up. Like, wait a minute, they're tied to what?
Yeah.
Like, and now we're doing what? Okay, all right. Now you definitely have my attention.
Yeah. As far as remdesivir is concerned, they have a 20-year patent in more than 70 countries on remdesivir.
Which is the standard for patents.
Yeah, remdesivir was developed by Gilead with over $79 million of government funding.
Well, here's the other thing.
But they had the other thing that's interesting on this, they had an orphan drug designation, which I don't have to look up what an orphan drug is really fast. Let me just Wikipedia and their hyperlinks, super great. So an orphan drug is a pharmaceutical agent developed to treat medical conditions which, because they are so rare, would not be profitable to produce without government assistance. And then They had the orphan drug designation on remdesivir since March of last year. They finally gave up that status on March 25th of this year. But they do retain the 20-year patent in 70 countries for remdesivir.
Well,
They also have been accused of price gouging other medications developed with public funding. So even though
That's all pharmaceuticals.
yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty much all major pharmaceuticals. No matter if they get government funding or not, they're gonna try and make a profit.
so
The problem is the research and development are so expensive that they've got to push it onto the consumer.
exactly, and that's 1,000% correct. Obviously, Luther. The thing about it is Fauci put out a $3.2 billion profit incentive to develop a pill that would treat COVID-19. But we already had the pill that was doing the same thing. So it was basically saying, okay, we recognize that this drug, ivermectin, can do, and maybe they didn't even recognize the fact that this drug could do the same thing. But it was basically like that, like Fauci saying, okay, take this drug and alter it just a little bit.
It's
Just take it down to the molecular level and just edit it just a little bit. And the first person that can do that gets $3.2 billion because we're going to solve COVID.
This is that right there is the first thing that came to my mind was the memes of like, hey bro, can I copy your homework? It's like, yeah, sure, but just change it a little. That's
Well,
the meme.
and then-
that's like pretty much what happened. They said,
And then
here's ivermectin. Can I copy your homework? Yeah, but just change it a little bit. Remdesivir.
And then the common person would say, okay, well, if we already had the drug, why would we give a $3.2 billion incentive to someone who could take it and manipulate it just a little bit so it's a different drug, but it's not the same drug? And then you get back into the major fucking pharmaceutical issue that we have in this country that we've talked about 100,000 damn times, that we continue to talk about no matter what the topic is. And that's because there's a fucking profit to be made. And this is a business that we live in a country, which should not be a business. It's not after your best interest.
It's gone from.
I mean, it is, but it isn't.
It's
right?
gone from normal capitalism to now we're edging ever closer to predatory capitalism.
Which there's been a 52% decline in millennials who are Republicans and their take on capitalism, which I think capitalism is a good system that can work. But this is a classic example of why the classic capitalism that we're living in right now does not work, because it becomes this money machine. And how can we manipulate the situation that we're in and turn it into a profit scheme? And this is it.
Yeah, this is the catch-22 with capitalism or any this is going to change directions quickly for a minute, but with any economic model, is like, it's good in theory and in like early practice, but as soon as people start figuring out how they can manipulate the system to turn a large profit, that's when the system gets skewed. So like, and this is going to sound super you guys are probably going to hate me for this, but communism on paper or socialism on paper sounds like a great idea. And you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's super great. But the problem is, when people figure out that, hey, I can get the same benefits and not have to do anything because people are doing the shit for me, that's when the system fails and crumbles. And that's what's happened all over the world every time with communism and socialism, is that people figure out that they don't have to work for anything and they take all the profit. Meanwhile, so it's just another, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So then it turns into the poor working for the rich. Same
like
thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Luther.
It's like the theory of cancer, right? I mean, you would be surprised how much these cancer drugs are costing, like just infusions and everything else. And are we really trying to cure cancer? We should probably have the technology of being able to do that. So are we hiding the the real way of curing it, or are we just are we just keep giving these infusions and let the cycle continue going to make that money? I mean, I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, there's 2 or 3 different service lines that they pump all the money into. It's oncology, cardiovascular services. I get it. That's more of the mortalities and those kind of things. But like, if we weren't a capitalist society, a lot of scientists, a lot of research would be put into other diseases that could be curable, which is true.
Well, and someday, Luther, I'll do a podcast on my grandfather on my mom's side, who was a cancer research doctor who mysteriously dropped dead of a heart attack one day, which I still think there was some foul play at there. There's no evidence to suggest that really whatsoever, because I wasn't even close to being born yet. That's a different topic for a different day. But it does allow you to start to accept this sort of cynicism towards our pharmacology system and the way that major pharmaceuticals are paid so rewardedly in the way of receiving these funds. And it does allow you to have this sort of cynic approach to, like, do they really have our best interest in mind, or are they really just trying to make as much money as possible? Because
that's what Metters just said in the chat. He's like, are we really trying to cure it, or are we just trying to monetize it for forever?
Exactly.
That's right.
Because our track record as humans with having monetary value over human value isn't so good. We don't have a great track record when it comes to valuing human life over how can I get rich.
Yeah.
Right? Like, go back through history.
It's been, let's get rich, fuck the little guy.
Which is why the aliens won't land. Another topic for another time. But it does, especially in this situation, dude, where you have 58% of almost 1,200 health professionals who receive no dosage of a drug that is being, or it's not being taken off, but you talk about this drug, if you're Brett Weinstein, ivermectin, and you get taken off of YouTube, right? Where it's almost the same chemically as remdesivir, where if you go on and talk about remdesivir, people are like, oh, thank God this guy is bringing this drug to the light.
Yeah.
And you talk about the cheaper version, which there's a study, which, by the way, one of the reasons they cited this study as not being factual is that there might be bias because of the numbers that were produced being so positive. So they're saying, you know what? That's 0%. I just don't know if we buy it. You know, like, there's no bias involved.
Yeah, my initial thought when you said that YouTube's taking it down based off, fact checking and other things like that, my first reaction was, after looking it up, is the reason YouTube is taking this down is because the kicker for me in this is the FDA hasn't approved it. And I think that's the big kicker on why YouTube and other like media platforms are taking it down, because they're like, oh, well, if the FDA hasn't approved it, then this could be misinformation, and we don't want to get hit with dispersing misinformation. Which, so on the flip side of that, you've done the research and you've looked at it, it's all the same. But the big stamp, the seal of approval is the fact that the FDA hasn't approved it, so YouTube is scared.
The metaphor that Weinstein used, because they talked all about all of this, and again, I'm sorry if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast and I'm just completely going back over everything that they talked about, but it's like if you were on a plane that got hijacked by terrorists, right? And everybody on the plane is saying, hey, we got to fight back. We got to do something different than what we're doing right now, or else we're going to crash to the ground. But the terrorists have already infiltrated the cockpit, and the captain's coming over the speaker and saying, no, everybody sit in your seats. Everything's fine. you're sitting there saying, well, all the evidence, everything that I'm looking at points to the fact that I should probably do something. This is not fine whatsoever. But the cockpit's already been infiltrated. So again, if you're talking about the FDA or the CDC or the WHO, we already know WHO is in bed with the Chinese government. We already know that the Chinese government threatened to cut mask supply to the United States if politicians went on and even suggested or even hinted at the fact that this could have come from a lab leak. So we already kind of know, we already kind of realize that this shit isn't just black and white. It's not just people sitting there looking out for each other. There's some political gain and certainly suggesting some financial gain to come from all of this. So it's again, it's kind of like, do we sit and listen to the guy in the cockpit who's already been infiltrated and is saying what he or she needs to say? Or do we sit and realize that, like, yo, we're being led on? Like, this isn't what they say it is, you know?
It's a hard line, though, because I'll give an example. If you remember during last year during COVID, there were these 2 or 3 doctors who, it wasn't on Capitol Hill, but I think it was in Texas, went to the Capitol, and I forgot what crazy drug that they were putting on. And Donald Trump was saying, oh, look, we've got cures and you don't have to worry about that. Yes. I mean, which has been proven as a treatment for COVID-19, by the way. I am not a Trump supporter. Everybody should know I am not a Trump supporter. I Google searched it today. I didn't Google search it. I DuckDuckGo searched it. But I looked at it today, and there are COVID-19 treatments that involve hydroxychloroquine. The worst thing that ever happened to hydroxychloroquine is Donald Trump came on TV and said it was a viable treatment. Right.
And again, I don't care what he said. I don't care what he said worked. He also made a fucking comment about injecting goddamn bleach in your veins or whatever. Obviously that was not correct, and that's not good. And I understand that you can't just let every single person out there have a platform to harm people. And I understand that. But what I'm saying is, you have a study from Argentina in front of you that would suggest that this works, that this is a valuable treatment to COVID-19. And it seems as if there is clearly a best financial interest within the powers that be to reject this statement. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, watch them reject it. Oh, go ahead, Luther. Sorry.
And I haven't looked at it, but here's the truth, Alex. Not all studies are alike either. And I'm just counteracting what you're saying. I haven't even read it.
No, I love that, because I live in a fucking echo chamber, and I need somebody to be like, yo, you're not right if I'm not right. So
well, I don't know, but not all studies are the same and not equal. So I haven't looked at it, so I can't be the one to judge, but depends on what about I'm a chemist and a biologist. That's my background, is chemistry and biology. And I can make the numbers look whatever way I want to make them look by simple statistics. So I'm not saying that it's right or wrong or anything, but they need to be validated. And I don't know. Correct. And like I said, I haven't looked at the study at all to tell you if it can pass the smell test, but not all tests are made equal.
And maybe I just listened to a Joe Rogan podcast, and this is not accurate whatsoever. To be honest with you, I haven't gotten to like the empirical data on it. But if I brought to you, if you know, Dr. Luther, I know you're not exactly a doctor, but in my eyes, you're a doctor, because you're a lot fucking smarter than I am. That's for sure. If I said, Dr. Luther, we had 1,200 people, and 788 of those people, my math isn't going to be exactly right, 788 of those people self-administered this drug to themselves, and actually 0% of them came down with the virus that we're talking about. And of the 407 people that did not have the treatment, 58% of those people fell prey to the virus with symptoms. What do you think? Should we give this antidote, this, antibiotic, whatever you want to call it, to people? You would say,
I'd say we still need more data, because here's the deal. You can't.
You are a goddamn doctor. Fuck you.
You didn't pick the. Look, you'll need a good sample size, which you have. But guess what? You didn't pick the people in random. You don't have certain nationalities, and you got to have certain. So you can't just go based off of. And number two, they're in the same location. So they may have similar traits. So you can't say it works for everybody. What works for people in Africa doesn't always work for people in England or stuff like that. So you got to have more randomized groups of people with trials and all those other things. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I haven't looked at it.
No, I know what you're saying.
But just basically what you're telling me, I can't go off of anything, because you got to have more data.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that we can look at the test that happened in Argentina and go, okay, well, that worked for Argentina, because that's how, based off a lot of different factors of how Argentina is, climate, geography, friggin' demographics and everything is set up, that worked for them. But that might not be the case for America, because we are a melting pot. And there's a lot of different stuff going on here. So it would take perhaps more clinical trials of this stuff to figure out if it is as viable as a solution as it was for, perhaps Argentina.
Clinical trials are very hard to go through. I know everybody says these vaccines haven't been going through the clinical trials like some of the others, but I'll tell you, getting past the FDA is usually a big thing. It takes years and years to get past. Typically,
Well, and that's hammered through this time because it was just such a fucking panic mode the first time, like when it started.
And that's the big argument. And I know I've entertained the idea of our buddy Rick. I don't know if you saw that video, Luther, of the magnet sticking to his arm. Whatever. Yes. I don't listen. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I understand. I don't necessarily agree with the criticism that this did get slammed through, because we were in the middle of a global pandemic. We did need a solution as fast as we could get one, right? Completely understand, totally on board with that. And I know I might sound like an ivermectin, like I'm out there peddling it on the streets. And I don't, that's not necessarily, I'm not saying if you get COVID, you should go out and take ivermectin. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but I'm not saying I'm not a fucking doctor. Again, my big issue and the big red flag to me where it starts to become okay, what the fuck are y'all actually doing with this, is where we start pulling conversations around the drug off of YouTube in the name of spam or whatever the case may be. That's where I'm okay, we believe all science, right? We're supposed to have these open, free dialogues around the scientific process. But now, just because it doesn't fit or align with the narrative or what's going to be most profitable, quite frankly, again, that's just face value. I'm not saying that. I actually am kind of saying in my heart of hearts that that's the reason why it's being pulled off of YouTube, is because it's not as profitable. But just saying face value, I don't understand how we pull these things off of YouTube and not let people make the decision for themselves. But
I think coach. I don't know. I think it's just because, like I said earlier, it's that stamp that the FDA hasn't given ivermectin yet, so YouTube doesn't want to be culpable in spreading supposed, misinformation around if it hasn't been, stamped with the FDA's seal of approval. Yes, ivermectin can treat COVID.
The problem is people are stupid, and when they see different things, I could say that standing on your head is going to cure COVID, and somebody in the United States is going to believe that putting on yourself on the head, that you'll cure COVID. That's the problem. I mean, you got to have factual information on there.
People are too
And
gullible
you know what?
nowadays.
And you know what? If standing on your head while you had COVID would kill somebody, like, hey, don't stand on your head while you have COVID because the blood will rush to your head and you'll fucking suffocate, whatever. I'd be like, yeah, no, probably not a good move to let people believe that. But ivermectin is released all across the fucking nation as this anti-parasite with very little negative side effects. So you can either, like, in one side of the argument, have a very effective COVID cure, or on the other side of the argument, it's not going to do shit for COVID and you're just going to have a little bit of an upset stomach and maybe a little headache like any other fucking antibacterial or whatever, anti-parasite. Like, it's basically an antibiotic from what I've understood. So what's
an anti-parasite
and
antibiotic are total, they're not the same.
Okay, let me put this back a step. The only negative side effects that I've heard of, and again, maybe I'm fucking wrong, is a little bit of an upset tummy and like a headache if you take ivermectin, and those are the only side effects. So what the fuck does it hurt by letting people try it to cure COVID if it's not gonna fucking kill them?
Because there's a whole process about any drug that's put out like that has to go through the FDA and get approved and all this other stuff. You can't just be handing out drugs that don't have the FDA seal of approval. As much sense as it would make to be like, here you go. There's a whole food, that's why it's called the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. They have to vet it and verify that it's essentially kosher for the public.
Yeah, well, fuck them, dude. I don't care. Fuck them.
Fuck them all.
Fuck those money-hungry sons of bitches. Fuck them.
Look,
fuck them all. If I get COVID, I'm not going to have any symptoms. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. I probably had COVID with as much as I travel and shit. But if I get it, I'm going to take some zinc, some ivermectin, and some fucking fish oil and some vitamin D, and I'll be right as rain, bro.
There you go. Or you can just get the vaccine and not have to worry about any of it.
Yeah, I don't want to be microchipped. Just
kidding.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all.
I was about to go into massive amounts of credit card debt to fly to Omaha and smack you in the mouth right now.
I do not believe that at all. And I'm in Des Moines right now, bitch. So
I'll figure it out. I will. You'll fucking drive over there if I come. I know you will. Yeah, it's look,
okay. We can leave that one also. Where
as much as it logically would make sense to be like, look, by all intents and purposes, it looks like ivermectin would be a viable solution. There's a whole. It's like the criminal justice system essentially. There's a process it has to go through to be vetted and good to go for the public use in America. And ivermectin, unfortunately, is gonna have to go through that process again to get to that point where it's good.
Just like everybody else. I mean,
just don't pull the conversations off of YouTube.
Moderna and Pfizer, they've only been emergency approved by the FDA. They have not been fully approved by the FDA. I will tell you, once they are approved, you'll see more and more companies mandating that their employees get it.
Yeah, and I think that's a big reason why, for me, being military and part of the DoD, that it's voluntary right now because it hasn't got that official seal of approval. That's why it's voluntary right now. Once after another year or so, the FDA really looks into it and goes, yeah, these are fine, and it gets that full stamp of approval. The COVID vaccine is going to be just the same as the flu vaccine, whatever other vaccines I have to get every year as a military member, whether I like it or not. I have to get those. Which
absolutely.
I've said this before, I'm not anti-vax. Just growing up, I didn't go to the doctor to get my vaccines because I was a healthy child and didn't need them. But now that it's, mandated and part of my job, I'm not going to sit here and fight the system. It is what it is. I will get stabbed 1,000 times with needles for the rest of my life. It's fine. It is what it is. But yes, Jesus, you were also correct. Let's just all agree that America's fucked up. True.
That's for sure.
Jesus also said Alex tried standing on his head, or so I heard. I wouldn't put it past him. And then Jesus also said Alex wants the magnetic version of the vaccine. Alex wants the magnetic version of the vaccine just so he can point at me and go, "See, ha, bitch! I told you. I got you." Magnets do
That's-
stick. I had mine, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it just for you, Alex. I get my second Fauci ouchie on July the 6th. All right, that's a Tuesday.
Listen,
I'm gonna come home that day. I'm not gonna find one of my fridge magnets, the little flimsy ones, because that's all I have. And I'm gonna on my arm, and if it does, it's not gonna stick. And I'm just gonna be
it's
like,
not strong enough.
it's not strong enough. Shut the fuck up.
No, I wanted to.
I have
I'm
strong
not
ass
even-
magnets at work.
I'm
Actually,
not-
no, fuck you. I'm gonna film it when I get back. I'm gonna get my ouchie, and I'm gonna come back to work. We had these big ass strong magnets at work. I'm gonna sit it on my shoulder, and it's gonna fall off, and be like, "Your man's was just sticky and gross." I'm sorry to tell you.
I'm not gonna start with the whole thing again. I wanted to think it was just a whole bunch of conspiracy bullshit, and then we had
It
a
is.
friend that. Well, maybe it is. I don't fucking know.
Your man's
but I
is
saw
just
a
sticky
video-
and gross and needs to take a shower.
Maybe so. I don't fucking know. Are you talking shit about Mexicans? Are you saying they're oily and greasy
No,
or
I'm
what?
just saying that one individual was kind
Okay,
of probably
wow,
yucky from a
fucking-
day at work.
Ben's a goddamn racist. Now. Oh, you think a day at work makes Mexican hot and sweaty?
I
You can't
have a
sit behind
day.
a desk all day.
I have a day of work, and I
You
get
can't
hot
work
and
an
sweaty.
office job. Okay, Ben. All right.
I was
cool.
hot and sweaty and sticky today coming home from work, so you can lick my balls.
Here again, this is the last thing I'm going to say about the whole thing. I just don't want YouTube pulling videos discussing scientific evidence off of platforms and giving someone like Brett Weinstein, who's a biologist, a quote unquote warning saying you can't talk about this, because it seems to signify the fact that, again, this is a more for-profit business model than it is actually treating people with a real disease. And again, if this was like the one-off situation where we're like, well, major pharma has been, really pure in the past, and they've always had the best interests of their patients in the past, I'd be like, okay, well, I don't really see it. But this isn't the first or the last. Like, we're still fucking getting people addicted to borderline heroin when they come out of the fucking army for pain treatment, and then at a certain point in time saying, oh, sorry, heroin's up, so you got to go buy it on the streets. Opioids, i.e. I have zero fucking faith in this institution. Zero faith, because they've proven over time that they do not have the best interests of their patients at heart. They have how much money they can get out of their patients at heart. So that's where all of this stems from. So to say that the same institution is now trying to silence a certain drug that is not profitable and profit on another drug that is very profitable, I see it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's out of the realm of comprehension to say that their interests aren't at the heart of their patients. And that's where I'm going to leave it.
Yep. Jesus, you're right. We can talk about whatever we want, but depending on what platform we put our content out on, then we are, yes, tied to the rules and regulations of these platforms. And like we said, we can talk as much as we want about it, wherever we want elsewhere. And the thing I think that Alex and I are kind of getting at with this is the fact that YouTube's rules and regulations are pulling this mainly because, and this is my personal belief, mainly because that ivermectin doesn't have the FDA stamp of approval. So essentially YouTube is just trying to cover their ass from not getting slapped with a lawsuit, because somebody's going to go, well, I saw this on YouTube. And
Sounds to me they should have the banner that Facebook used to have, well, it still does, of it's not CDC or FDA approved or some kind of things. If you're going to leave one up, you should leave the other one up.
Yeah, I feel like, in all honesty, what they should do, which they're not going to, is to just leave up both and let people try and form an informed opinion by themselves. But people nowadays are too fucking stupid, and I don't give a shit if you're offended by that or not. Majority of America's too fucking stupid to do that. They would rather just have it force-fed down their face from somebody who they think is smarter than them, rather than do the research themselves.
Well, that's Darwinism, right? If somebody tells you inject bleach in your veins because it's going to cure you of COVID, and then you actually go out and inject bleach in your veins, then you know what? I'm sorry. Like you should have done one more internet search before you decided to take that step. But
maybe
you
we
guys
need
are
it.
right. You guys are right in the sense of, YouTube is probably just trying to cover their ass and maybe, I don't know. That's the biggest issue, is nobody really knows, because they feed you the line of bullshit of this is spam, and it's like, well, this isn't really spam, this is just education. But could this education be interpreted in a way that will hurt people? Yeah, like let people fucking make up their own minds. Like, if you want to eat a Tide Pod, eat a Tide Pod. It's not going to work out so well for you.
You're gonna get
You
a
want to
hole in the front
fucking
of your throat, but
you want to fucking inject bleach into your veins? Fucking inject bleach in your veins. Again, do one more internet search before you decide to do that. But if we just have to fucking bubble wrap everything and limit people to what they're exposed to, I don't know.
Wait till the FDA approves it.
Yeah, wait till the FDA approves it. And then no one's going to make the same money that they're making. And Fauci's $3.2 billion fucking incentive to come up with a drug that we already have a fucking drug to will go by the wayside. And we'll all just end up, like normal simpletons, which is fine with me. I didn't come up with the fucking drug, so I don't have any skin in the game. And if I get sick, I'm going to be fine, because I'm a healthy person who's not overweight and doesn't have any respiratory issues, and
That you don't know of.
that's true.
that I don't know of.
I'll tell you this: you might have a few respiratory issues, because I have stopped vaping for the time being because I have a PT test coming up, and trust me, while I was still doing that and I went on a run, I thought I was fucking dying. So maybe don't go on any runs anytime soon.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm good.
So all I'm saying is, like, I'm a pretty healthy individual, but trying to run after many months of hitting the disposables was painful in the old lungs. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But anyways, chat, we have flown through this hour and a half. It's great. It's great to be back in the vibe and the vein of podcasts where we get an hour and a half and we're like, holy shit, it's been an hour and a half.
I know, it flew by.
If you guys this is the time where I'm going to turn it over to you guys like we always do. If you got anything else you want us to kind of comment on, drop it in the chat right meow. I noticed that Jesus said something about free Britney Spears earlier. Look, I don't know much about that whole situation, but all I know is that her family has been very controlling. Hashtag free my bitch Britney. In other news, this album is coming soon.
Oh, it's coming soon.
It's coming very soon. This is some of the merch modeled by your most beautiful truly here. T-shirt for the album's cover and title. When it drops, we'll obviously let you guys know, but stream the shit out of it. They just released another single not long ago, and I'm not gonna do them due diligence right now and remember the name of the single that they just dropped, but it's out. So just look up the band, Feel Good. You guys will find it. Metters wants you to comment. Oh, you can't read what it says? Here you go, Jesus. It says Roots Intertwined. It's from when we had Mary on talking about their album that her band is dropping soon. Metters would like you to comment on the fact that Vandy is currently spanking Mississippi State's ass.
Listen, we gave Mississippi State all that they could possibly handle and ran them into the ground, pitching wise, stamina wise, and that douchebag who got that single to walk off against Texas took his shirt off at second base.
Yeah,
and
that dude's. I heard about that. Dude has no shot of going pro and did that. What a loser.
No, total douchebag. Total douchebag. You're not that guy, bro. All right.
You're not that guy. You're not
that guy, pal. You're not that guy. And the fact that the NCAA, it wasn't.
I'm mad about the fact that Vandy and NC State got canceled, and NC State didn't get a chance to compete for their spot. I'm also
Yes.
mad that Mississippi State made it as far as they did because they're an ass program. They're not
Well,
good. Their batch just got hot at the right time. I'm still salty on the fact that Arkansas didn't make it, just because. Never mind. Don't get me started. Anyway,
yeah.
Arkansas definitely should have been. I fully believe if we had stayed hot, we would have been in the finals. But that's just me.
And I fully believe if Vandy would have faced a full NC State team, that it would be NC State in the tournament right now versus Vandy. Vandy got a free pass against NC State.
The NCAA
It
fucked up again.
well, so here's the opposite. If I played devil's advocate for a second,
No
the
one should
second
do
base
that.
for NC State fucked up and broke protocol. And NC State made the conscious choice to not have their team vaccinated going to the College World Series, which are two major mistakes in my mind. Again, we've talked about vaccines this entire fucking podcast, and I think it should be a personal choice. But I also think if you're representing your entire fucking school for your very first national championship, you should probably get a fucking vaccine that would ensure that you're going to be safe to play for the entire national championship. So again, it's a free choice, right? Like it's a choice that you make on your own. It's a personal choice. You also have to accept the repercussions of the fact that you did not receive that vaccine, and now you did get this virus that's going to take your team out of the fucking biggest stage that you'll ever play on in your young life.
Yeah.
So again, it works both ways. The NCAA got put in a shitty situation. I don't think they handled it perfectly well.
I will say,
but
look, all I'm going to say is the NCAA got put in a shitty situation, but they have a track record of getting put in shitty situations and making the worst choice possible.
yeah,
Because the NCAA is a money grubbing fucking machine. But anyway, I'm not going to get started on it because I'm just going to sit here and be a salty Arkansas fan.
I
will give NC State credit. They played their fucking hearts out, and they probably deserve to go on to the College World Series. We kind of fucked ourselves in that after whooping that ass 21 to whatever in the first game, and then subsequently shitting the bed after that. But it is
Miss Nevada has its first transgender winner, and I think that's awesome. Of like a beauty pageant?
Yeah, that would be the beauty pageant for Miss Nevada to go on to Miss USA and then to Miss Universe.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So that's cool. Good for
again,
Nevada.
If she is the best person to win that title, I am super stoked. I literally know nothing about it. If we just gave that title to her because she's transgender, then I think that's extremely unfair for the other girls in the race. I know fucking nothing about it. I do know that is she from Yugoslavia, the power lifter that's going to compete in the Olympics, and she's going to fucking shatter every powerlifting record.
I sent you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't remember. She's from Eastern Europe somewhere, and she's transgender, and apparently she's been, off of, testosterone. And her testosterone, they have standards. Her testosterone levels are within standards, which is why.
Jesus, I'm not qualifying it that way. Just to be frank, I'm saying I don't know shit about it. Let me just again preface all of that. I hope she was the winner because she was the most deserving person of the title. I hope that's the case. I don't know shit about it. I hope that we didn't just award her the title because she transitioned. Again, if I competed in the world's most beautiful ginger competition and someone just gave me the title because I decided to transition at the last minute and I really wasn't the world's most beautiful ginger, I'd be like, well, I feel like this was kind of a sham. Again, if she won it straight out right, which I'm sure she did. Again, I don't know fuck about it. I don't know shit about it. I hope she did. I hope she's the most beautiful woman on the face of the planet and she goes on and wins Miss Universe. And the transgender thing is completely Jesus says you can just stop it. Good for her.
Zeus said, bro, you can put the shovel down. Alex is just fucking digging to China at this point.
I'm not digging nowhere. This is my point. This is my stance. This is what I believe in.
No, I get it.
Equality for all.
Yes.
Fairness for everybody. Male, female, male born transition to female, female born transition to male. I don't give a fuck. I just want it to all be a playing field for everybody.
Yeah, I want it to
Equal.
be. I'm with
Equal.
Alex on that. I want it to be an even playing field. I don't want the fact that she transitioned to fit, what she believes, what she feels in her heart of hearts that she is, to affect the fact that we're doing this for publicity's sake. I want it, I want it to be fair. She won because she's the most beautiful woman in the state of Nevada, and then that's
Yes.
awesome. I don't want
Yes.
Nevada to be like, we made history. Like, that's what we're getting
Look
at.
at this. Yeah.
That's what we're getting at with that. I think Jesus just wanted to see you squirm a little bit, and I think that's hilarious.
I'm not squirming. I'm just giving my honest. You guys, here's the thing. You all know you know what you're gonna get with me because my shit don't change, and I just want everybody to be happy and have an equal playing field. And I don't want fucking Major Pharma to run this goddamn country because that really pisses me off.
Look, man, all I'm saying is freaking, like Snoop said, smoke weed every day and just, like, we'll call it good. But that's going to hurt Luther's chemistry and biological heart because Big Pharma runs the world.
It does, and it will continue to do it.
All right.
Until us little guys step up and say, enough is enough, god damn it.
Until a bigger country takes on the research and development piece.
Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm gonna say that we're good for tonight. Alex needs to go drink some water and put a cold towel on his face because he's kind of red right now. Anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out on an off day for us. We did another Monday podcast. Next week, since the 4th falls on Sunday, if I'm not wrong.
It does.
Correct.
I don't think we're gonna do a podcast on Sunday next week. We're gonna take that Sunday off. You guys go be with your families, do whatever your plans are for the 4th of July. Watch the fireworks explode. Hey Zeus, happy freaking early birthday then. Those fireworks are for you and not for the country. So we're gonna take the Sunday off. If you guys want, we'll hit it up on Monday night again. We'll do another Monday version of the podcast. Since I'll have Monday off because 4-day weekend.
Hey, I have that friend of Mary's who's a psychic. She's a medium, and she's
can
confirmed,
run that on Monday.
She's confirmed to be a guest.
Okay.
She said whenever we want.
Well, shit. If she wants to do, if you guys are down, let me put it this way. I will put a poll out on Twitter in the next couple of days, and I'm gonna hold Alex to remind me to do this. So the next couple of days, we're not gonna do one Sunday. So your options on this Twitter poll, if you guys you don't know what my Twitter handle is, it'll be at the end of the stream. Your options are gonna be no podcast next week or podcast on Monday.
With the medium.
With our guest who claims to be a medium. I'm gonna say it that way. Anyway,
Well, that's why I want to talk to her.
Yeah, I know, because I want to know. It'll be interesting. So
I
I'll put that
questions.
poll out. I have lots of questions. I'll put that poll out in the next couple of days, probably around the same time that I get this video uploaded to YouTube. And we'll go from there. But anyway, with all that being said, I appreciate you guys coming on this kind of off Monday stream and being with us. I thank you, Stephen Luther, for showing up and coming in halfway through this and talking to us about all of the COVID
Stephen
things.
Luther. Can I before we get done?
Yeah.
I want to tell a quick story about Stephen
Oh,
Luther
gosh.
because I'll never forget it.
Oh no.
Stephen and I grew up together playing baseball since we were like 5 years old, like young. and we were in, I want to say 7th or 8th grade. And I remember blaring a fucking Eminem album CD at this point in time in Steven's
Eminem
room.
show.
Eminem show, that's what it was. And Luther's mom coming in the room and being like, "What are you listening to? Like, this is horrible." Like, it was probably talking about murdering fucking prostitutes or something, whatever Eminem
That
was
tracks for
rapping about at
Eminem.
that point. Yeah. And her taking the CD away from him, and she went out to go to like the store or something and left us at home. And Steven and I fucking scoured her closet, like scoured the closet looking for that CD, and we found it. And I'll never forget taking that CD back to your room and cranking it up. Your mom's still gone, all the way up till 10, and just being, I don't even remember what the lyrics were, like, "Fuck that motherfucking bitch." And feeling like such a fucking rebel, dude. Like, that's
Yep,
one
there
of
you go,
my
Metters.
favorite Stephen Luther memories. One of my favorite Stephen Luther memories. But I love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, chat. As always, appreciate you guys. Be on the lookout for the YouTube video. I'll get this uploaded this week. And like we say every week, kind of corny, but we still do it anyway. Tell somebody you love them, man. Every day is most definitely a gift and not guaranteed. So hold your loved ones tight, give them a hug, and we will see you guys back here. I have a feeling next week on Monday with our discussion with the medium. Anyway, peace, y'all.
Love you guys.